Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another edition of 5 things that we learned. First things first, guys, make sure you smash the likes and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. And let's dive into today's show then. What a game it was at Stamford Bridge yesterday. Chelsea 3, Brighton 2. It should have been a lot more comfortable for the Blues in cruise control, 2-0 up inside 25 minutes. But then ill discipline struck again, and we made it very, very hard work for ourselves and have to be grateful for VAR for being there to help us out at the end and overturn that penalty decision that was wrongfully given. But a win's a win. We move back into the top half of the table. We start off the month with a win, which is really important as we head into two tough fixtures against United and Everton away from home. But yeah, let's dive into it. First thing then, people, and I've talked about it a lot, lack of discipline, people, is really, really becoming a problem, and it's going to end up costing us big time now. It's now back-to-back games that the captain's been sent off. We had Reece James sent off against Newcastle, and we had Conor Gallagher receiving his marching orders, obviously, against Brighton. This is careless from Gallagher. It's really poor. He's already been booked. Why are you steaming into a challenge on the halfway line on Billy Gilmore? He's not going anywhere. It's obviously a rush of blood to the head. It's a poor decision. And, he left us in the lurch big time. Luckily, we had something to defend and it didn't end up costing us, but it made the afternoon a lot more difficult for us. It's our third red card of the season already, following Reece James's last week against Newcastle and Malo Gusto against Aston Villa. We're top of the table for most bookings and red cards in the league this season. 48 bookings and 3 reds, as I just mentioned. The manager himself has already picked up 3 bookings and served a touchline ban. This is becoming a real problem. And look, I'm pleased that we're a bit more aggressive. We seem to be up for it more. No one's shying away from things, but there's a fine line between carelessness and stupidity and being aggressive and making the right decisions. And right now, you'd have to say that Chelsea aren't on the right side of the balance right now. Obviously, I'd rather this than what we had last season with players appearing not to care, not going in for challenges, ducking out of 50-50s, all that sort of thing. But we've gone kind of from one extreme to the other where we aren't quite getting it right. We're going a little bit over the top with this stuff. Just need better decision making, need better leadership, need just better reading of the game, reading of situations. As a captain, yes, everyone makes mistakes, but you can't be steaming in like that when you're already on a booking. You're giving the referee a decision to make and you're asking for trouble. So something needs to change. The manager's got to get on top of this. Players are just picking up needless bookings. We already know that Sterling's one game away from a ban. We know that Jackson's now a couple of yellow cards away from picking up a 2-match ban for 10 bookings. So it's, as I said, it's not only letting your team down in the moment during that match, but if you're getting sent off or you're getting yourself banned for the next game through 5 or 10 bookings or whatever it is, you're then letting your team down the following week as well by not being available. So it does have a knock-on effect. So we've got to get on top of this. I don't quite understand why it's getting so out of hand and why we seem to have gone down this route in terms of just picking up so many bookings, getting needless red cards, poor decision making, lack of leadership at times as well. As a captain, you should be the one setting the example and the one that other players are looking to drive the team forward. And when you're doing stupid things like that, it doesn't reflect well on the group. It doesn't reflect well on you as a captain or a leader. And right now, we're just passing that captain's armband round like nothing. So it's gonna be back to Reece James on Wednesday night against United. But yeah, look, the discipline has got to be sorted out because it's going to cost us. Yes, we got away with it yesterday, but against the better sides, you're not going to get away with it, and you're going to be punished. And it's so much harder when you're down a man or you're down 2 men or whatever it might be. So we've got to get on top of this. Otherwise, we are going to pay a big price for it. It could end up costing us big time in a lot of games coming up, particularly in a packed Christmas period where games are coming thick and fast, playing 3 times a week. You're going to be rotating a squad. You need as many players available as possible. And if you are not available through ill discipline and all that stuff, then you're letting the side down. So we have to get on top of that. That is my first major point, in that the discipline is becoming a real problem and it needs to be got on top of as quickly as possible. My second point that I wanted to raise is that despite saying that, we showed really good fight and we dug in. That's something we've not always seen from Chelsea over the last sort of 12 to 18 months. But we saw it against Man City. We dug in, we got back for the draw. And again, we showed really good fight today. It was looking a bit ropey for us. We went 2 up inside 25 minutes. And then We had a mad 3 minutes when Buenote scored for Brighton, and then Gallagher was sent off a couple of minutes later. But luckily, we held firm. We defended well. We really utilised the counter attack pretty well when obviously Brighton had a lot of control in the possession in the second half, and it worked really well. Obviously, Mudryk getting the penalty, which was done on the counter. And we managed to snuff danger out as well. Thiago Silva exceptional again at the back. Badiashile very good. And it must be said that Disasi and Colwell, despite Colwell being at fault as such for the goal, Disasi making it too easy as well on his side, they actually did reasonably well. But the fight's really important because, it's so easy just to let your heads drop and allow the opposition into the game and either draw or throw that game away. We've seen it time and time again this season where we've got ourselves in good positions and we have thrown the game away. Luckily, we held on this time. And you know what? Good fight. It shows that, the players care. They're playing for the badge. They're doing all the right things. And yeah, showing good fight is a big plus because good fight has not always been one of those things at Chelsea in recent times, people. So delighted to see good fight. The performance wasn't outstanding, but given the fact we were down to 10 men for 65 minutes or so, 55 minutes or so of that game, then that was a real plus, a real positive, and something hopefully we can take that fighting spirit forward and that never say die attitude in more games. This side never knowing when it's beaten. So hopefully we can, it's a good trait to take forward. Hopefully we can build on that, build on the confidence and bring that forward into further fixtures in this December run. My next point that I wanted to raise was, despite the fact that we won, I'm becoming a little bit concerned about the amount of goals we're conceding. There's another 2 goals conceded yesterday. It was 4 conceded against City. It was 4 conceded against Newcastle. That's 10 goals conceded in the last 4 games. It's 11 goals in the last 4 games. 10 in the last 3. That's not good. And you can't keep getting away with that. Yes, if you can outscore opposition, fine. But as we're seeing with Man City, that drawing there, they've let in a lot of goals in their last few games, 4 against us and 3 against Tottenham. So you can't always outscore the opposition. We need to tighten up defensively. Defense for me is one of our strongest suits, but right now we are letting in careless goals. And do you know what? A lot of these goals, I mean, the finish yesterday from Benevento was very good. But what I'm saying is a lot of these goals are very avoidable from a Chelsea perspective. It's not like we're getting torn apart and the defense is being massively let down. That isn't the case at all. But we are making stupid individual errors. People are switching off, lack of concentration. The amount of goals we're conceding from set pieces, leaving people to have free headers in the box is not good. Making the wrong decisions, making big mistakes, whether it's the goalkeeper, whether it's the centre halves or whatever, that needs to be stamped out because you're not going to make any progress if you're letting in the amount of goals we are letting in at the rate we're doing it in. So we could really desperately do with a clean sheet in or 2 in this next run of games because it's not looking good in terms of the amount of goals that we're conceding. When you're conceding a lot of goals, you're asking for trouble. It doesn't really matter how many goals you score. Ultimately, the ones you let in at the other end are going to be your downfall. We saw it all those years ago with that Liverpool side that almost won the title under Brendan Rodgers. Scored for fun, but let in so many goals, and that ultimately did cost them the Premier League title that year. Obviously, we're not on the same scale in terms of going for the Premier League title, but if we don't tighten up defensively and cut these mistakes out, then that could be the difference between us qualifying for Europe and us not qualifying for Europe. So the defensive lapses is something that we need to desperately get on top of. And that's a little bit of a concern for me moving forwards. But we've got the personnel to do it. We just got to make, as I said, this comes back down to making better decisions, staying switched on, staying focused, having leaders at the back to rally the troops and stuff. And I'm sure we can get on top of this. But yeah, we could really do with a game where we don't concede any goals. But I'm just not sure if that's going to be the case coming up over the next few weeks. But let's wait and see. My 4th point that I would like to raise is that, ultimately it didn't matter in the end. But again, failing to capitalize when we're in the ascendancy. You're 2-0 up in 25 minutes. We had opportunities to maybe go 3, possibly 4 goals up, and then that's the game done. And we could have easily wrapped up that contest inside the first half. But I just felt, following Colwell's goal, we went we were a little bit flat. Brighton, they improved in the second half, of course, with a man down. They actually did quite well considering the amount of players they had out injured and having played Thursday night in Greece as well. But Brighton were absolutely there for the taking, and we should have really pushed home our advantage. But we dropped off a little bit. I mean, it could have cost us that. Luckily, it didn't. But it's a thing that, again, it's been a kind of a hallmark of Chelsea sides where we don't kill games off when we're in the ascendancy, and then we either throw them away or we allow other teams back into the game, and then we make things very, very difficult for ourselves, which yesterday was a prime example of that. So we could just be, even when we're 2 goals up, because I don't trust us defensively at the moment with the amount of goals we're letting in. We need to go for a third or fourth and really, really kill the game off. But yeah, do you know what? Like, it's a minor concern, but it's a concern nonetheless that I just feel we don't always see games off when we're in the ascendancy. When you're 2 up, we had chances for 3 and 4, as I said, but instead we fell a little bit flat and we dropped off a little bit. It's just keeping that level of intensity and really ramming home the advantage and putting sides to the sword when we are in the ascendancy. Luckily, it didn't cost us yesterday, but in other games it might do. So yeah, just something to think about. We need to capitalize more on our ascendancy and really put the game to bed when we are on top. And then my final point, people, is that we are looking. Things are on the up for us at the moment. The tough run of fixtures is looking like it's sort of not coming to an end. But in the last 6 games, we've played Arsenal, Brentford, Spurs, City, Newcastle, Brighton, and we've had 2 of each: 2 wins, 2 draws, and 2 defeats. If you looked at that, you probably would have taken it when you got Arsenal, City, Spurs, Newcastle in those 6 games. You think you're probably going to lose a couple of those. You probably win a couple and you draw a couple. So I don't necessarily think we're any worse off than we expected to be points-wise. Yes, we should have obviously got the points against Arsenal, but the rest of them, I would have expected us to probably lose a couple of those games. You've got Man United up next, but then that kind of marks the end of the run against the big sides. And we've got teams like Sheffield United coming up, Luton, Crystal Palace, Everton. So there's no easy games in the Premier League, but an easier run in theory becomes available. And now is the time to absolutely start putting a run of wins together, because you can move up the table very quickly. A lot of the sides above us are playing each other over the next 2 or 3 game weeks, and they're going to be taking points off one another. So if we can be in a position to capitalize, pick up, say, 6 or 9 points over the next 2 to 3 games, then we can elevate ourselves right up the table and back into a very good position to be in contention for Champions League qualifications. So right now it's about getting a run of games together, wins together, and pushing on, building momentum, maturing as a side. And I think we can absolutely be in a very good position in and around those Champions League places come the turn of the year. But a lot of things do have to go right, but I'm confident that we can get there. It's just but we just have to hope this is not another false dawn where we win a game and then the next game you think you've turned the corner and you're going to build something and then you come crashing back down to earth with a shit performance. We have to push on and try and string together back-to-back wins or 3 wins on the spin and really push ourselves up the table. But yeah, guys, that's just my thoughts. 5 things we learned from Chelsea 3, Brighton 2. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. I'll catch you again in another one soon. Peace out and up the Chelsea, people.